back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, May 15th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So, we're going to start off the show. I'm going to continue my rankings of the teams in each division. So, today we're going to be doing the AFC East. So, we'll do that in just a second. Then in the second part of the show, I will talk about the Jets opening up against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. I know I touched upon that briefly yesterday, but I wanted to bring that up and talk about Aaron Rodgers playing on Monday Night Football once again to start the season, and it'll be against the 49ers, a team that he has played against plenty of times over the course of his career. So I wanted to talk about that in the second part of the show. Then in the third part of the show, I'll talk about Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins was asked if he knew that the Falcons were going to take a quarterback prior to signing with the Falcons, would he have signed with them? So I wanted to get into that and what he had to say. Also, for the fourth part of the show, something that I saw that was interesting, an article that I saw on Bleacher Report, some drama with the Bears quarterback room back in 2021 when it consisted of Justin Fields, who was a rookie at the time, and veterans Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. So I wanted to touch upon that and give my thoughts on it as well. And then in the final part of the show, another topic regarding the Jets is talking about Nathaniel Hackett, their offensive coordinator, because supposedly the Jets were trying to look for a replacement or someone to at least oversee Nathaniel Hackett. So I wanted to get into that and give my thoughts on it as well. So that's kind of the rundown for the show. I know there's a few Jets topics in there, but that's what I got for today. And the other thing too is tonight, the full NFL schedule does come out, so we will find out when everybody is playing. Now, I know we have the schedule. I saw the schedule for the international games. Those were all announced. I know the Giants will be playing the Panthers in Germany. The Jets will be playing the Vikings as well. So I'll touch upon that throughout the show. But tonight we get the full schedule, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network. And the other thing I saw, too, is I think one of my friends sent it. So it seems like it's confirmed that Netflix will be broadcasting the two Christmas games this year. So we'll find out who will be playing on Christmas, and we'll be finding out where and when everybody else is playing as well, which I'm excited for. So now with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the AFC East. So as I've been doing lately, I do have the logos of the teams, so at least we have a little bit of a graphic, a background to have while we discuss these teams. So let's get into that. Now, starting at number 4, and I think it's kind of no surprise, is the New England Patriots. Now, of these 4 teams, this is the team in this division that is rebuilding. It's a new era with the Patriots. You have Jerod Mayo now taking over for Bill Belichick. And they, of course, drafted Drake May with their 3rd overall pick to be their franchise guy. Now, they did also take another quarterback. They took Joe Milton in the later rounds. So, interesting how they took 2 young quarterbacks. But you also have Jacoby Brissett there as well. So, it's a new era in Patriots football. And it's going to be interesting. Now, I think they are the weakest team in the division. Of these 4 teams, like I said, they're going to be rebuilding. The other 3 teams, you could look at them as being playoff teams. The Patriots, I don't see that. Now, you got guys on the defensive side of the ball coming back from injury. Christian Gonzalez, their corner that they drafted last year, he missed a lot of time. He's going to be coming back. Matthew Judon, I know he made some comments recently that he's ready to roll. So the Patriots defense, I think, will still be good. That's something that hasn't really, changed over the course of, these last few seasons where, it hasn't been great. The Patriots defense is still good. It's just the offense has been the problem. And they're hoping Kendrick Bourne comes back. He was their top receiver before he got hurt. They did bring back Hunter Henry as well. They gave him a new contract. So, and Ramondre Stevenson as well. Well, not a new contract, but he's coming back because I know he was hurt as well. So, yeah, I mean, the Patriots, I don't really expect them to win a ton of games in 2024. And I'm interested to see how Jerod Mayo is going to be now taking over for Bill Belichick. But, the Patriots, they are a little bit away before we kind of see them as contenders again. And it's definitely odd to see them in this position now because, for my whole life watching football pretty much, they were consistent. They were making the playoffs every year. They were getting to the Super Bowls. They were winning Super Bowls. And now, they're kind of turning the page and they're looking to try to get back to that. But it's going to take some time. And yeah, like I said, they took Drake May with the 3rd pick. They took Jalen Polk, wide receiver, with their 2nd round pick. They took a couple of offensive linemen. Then they took another receiver, Javon Baker. They took a corner. Like I said, they took Joe Milton in the 6th round. And then they took a tight end with their last pick. So that's what they did there. And then when it comes to their depth chart, I just wanted to take a look at their depth chart really quick. So right now, they have Jacoby Brissett. I mean, ESPN at least has Jacoby Brissett listed as the QB1, but that definitely can change. I did forget that the Patriots did also bring in Antonio Gibson and KJ Osborne as well. But yeah, the receivers are still lacking. They did also bring in Austin Hooper to be the backup to Hunter Henry. So that's kind of what they have on offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, Matthew Judon's coming back. Christian Gonzalez, you hope he comes back healthy. So, I mean, I expect the Patriots defense to still be good. But like I said, the offense, let's see what they can do because that's kind of been really their problem the last few seasons. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have them at number 4. So at number 3, see, ranking these remaining 3 teams, it's tough. It's tough. And I don't really know. I don't know, but I'm going to say I'm going to have the Dolphins at 3. I'm going to have the Dolphins at 3. Now, I think the remaining 3 teams here can all be in the playoffs. I think ultimately what's going to hurt the Dolphins later in the year, I think, is the quarterback play. And I think Tua, he puts up solid numbers. He did last year. And Tyreek Hill had that great season. And if he didn't get hurt, I mean, could he have gotten 2,000 yards? But I feel like right now they're the 3rd best team in the division because of the quarterback. And like I said, I think all 3 of these teams, the remaining 3 teams, can make the playoffs. But for me, I feel like Tua is going to hold them back. And you saw late in the season, they did kind of give away the division and the number 2 seed to the Buffalo Bills. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to happen again. But for me, I think that they are going to be that 3rd place team Now, one of these, the remaining two teams, if, injuries arise and, they're back to how they were last year, well, yeah, then it's going to be between the Dolphins and the Bills. But for me, I'm going to put the Dolphins at 3. Now, like I said, love their offense, but I feel like it's kind of going to go the same way as it did last year, where they're going to get off to this hot start, and then, you get later into the season, the temperature drops, and, well, again, they play in Miami, but if they have to go to, like, if they have to go play places that are colder, they might not win those games, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think the Dolphins are at 3. So then at 2, I got the Buffalo Bills. And like the Dolphins, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. And I think Josh Allen's going to have to prove something because, now Stephon Diggs is not there anymore. And when Josh Allen first came into the league, Stephon Diggs wasn't there, and Josh Allen was not very good. But, when they got Diggs and you had Brian Dable there, Josh Allen really developed into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And they recently signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 1-year contract. They added him to the receiving corps. And I know he has a drop problem, but in the playoffs, he makes some big catches. So they added him. You got Chase Claypool. You drafted Keon Coleman. Mac Hollins, they also got Curtis Samuel. So they did kind of revamp this receiving corps. And you also have Khalil Shakir there. Daniel Meehan says, complete disrespect for Dolphins. You have Jets completely overrated. Listen, I know. And I've said it consistently. If you watch this show a lot, I said I'm going to be in the minority when it comes to the Jets. That I'm going to be positive when it comes to them. And I'm going to say that, they got a shot to win this division. So, yeah, I am disrespecting the Dolphins, but like I said, it comes with the quarterback play, in my opinion. Because I don't think Tua is the long-term answer, in my opinion. So, but, again, it's just my opinion. But with the Bills, I got them at 2. And I think, towards the end of the year, they had James Cook running the football effectively. And, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox are decent tight ends. I just feel like Josh Allen's still going to have a good year. And Diggs really wasn't a part of that offense. You go back and you look at some of his stats later in the season. I mean, he really wasn't a factor. He had like 20 yards receiving in some of the games. So, and I know with the Dolphins and the Bills, I mean, they had to let go of a lot of guys on defense. And, the Dolphins signed some guys. I think they signed Shaq Barrett. I know that was one of the signings. But, yeah, I mean, they had to let a lot of guys go on the defensive side of the ball. Oh, yeah, also the Dolphins did bring in Jordan Poyer as well. But, yeah, I mean, for me, I think it just, with these remaining 3 teams, is going to come down to the quarterback play. And, yeah, I mean, I'm going to put the Bills at 2. Now, this is where, Dan's comment comes in and says, you have the Jets completely overrated. Look, I'm not going to disagree with you because I'm taking a risk here, and I'm going to say the Jets right now to me, and there's a lot of ifs with the Jets, but I am going to pick them as the number 1 team in this division. They addressed the offensive line this offseason, both in free agency and in the draft. And they did add to the receiving corps. Now, again, you're adding Mike Williams, who has an injury history. And they also drafted a receiver as well to pair up with Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall had a strong finish to the year. And you still got the defense intact. Now, what is it going to come down to? Like I said, the quarterback play. That's what it's going to come down to. And if Aaron Rodgers is not Aaron Rodgers, then, yeah, this doesn't mean anything. Then, like I said, it's going to come down to the Dolphins and the Bills. But for me, the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I think this team could do big things and be a playoff team. And they've given the Bills problems. You even go back to the year before last year. I know they won last year on Monday night despite Rodgers getting hurt, but the year before that, they gave Josh Allen problems because of that defense. I mean, that defense gave a lot of teams problems. Well, except the Dolphins. But that's just my opinion. And I feel like with Rodgers being healthy, I think this team, in my opinion, can be the best team in the division. So yeah, I'm going to put them at 1. And I'm not going to disagree with what Dan's comment with Dan's comment, because yeah, maybe I am disrespecting the Dolphins a little bit. But like I said, their season kind of ended with a thud because they gave away the division, and then, I mean, against the Chiefs in those conditions, the season didn't end well. So, but I don't know. In my opinion, I got the Jets at 1, and we'll see what happens. And like I said, I'm in the minority when it comes to the Jets, I feel like, but I have them at 1. And we'll see. Because last year, a lot of people were high on them, and look what happened. So, but yeah, that's my opinion. So yeah, the Patriots at 4, Dolphins at 3, Bills at 2, Jets at 1. Let me know what you guys think about that. Like I said, Dan's not really happy with them. So, but let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What would your rankings be for this division? So we did kind of run a little late with the segment here. But yeah, so when we come back, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we actually will talk more about the Jets. We'll talk about them opening up against the 49ers. That'll be the first Monday night game of the season. So that's what we will talk about when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Jets opening up against the 49ers. That is going to be the first Monday Night Football game of the season. And definitely an interesting... Well, I mean, I think if you just look at it, there's stars all over the place. And there's storylines galore with this game. Because you have the Jets and Aaron Rodgers playing on Monday night. And it's in week 1. And we know what happened the last time the Jets played on Monday night in week 1. And it's against a team that Rodgers has had, when it comes to he's played them plenty of times, but the lack of playoff success against this team. And on top of that, you also have Robert Saleh, who used to be a part of the San Francisco 49ers coaching staff. He's going to be coaching against them, against Kyle Shanahan and his squad. So, yeah, there's some storylines going into this game. And also, I mean, let's not forget, the 49ers, they took Alex Smith instead of Aaron Rodgers way back when Rodgers got drafted back in 2005. So, yeah, you could just throw that in there, but that's always going to be a storyline whenever Rodgers plays against the 49ers. But yeah, the main thing, and also the other thing too, is Leonard Floyd, who tackled Rodgers on the play that he got injured, is now a part of the 49ers. So that's another thing too. And I know Mike Greenberg of ESPN, he was freaking out over the fact that the Jets are opening up against the 49ers on Monday night. Because, I mean, and even my friends who are Jet fans freaking out over this, because you're opening up against one of the best defensive lines in football, and your quarterback is coming off of a major injury. And on top of that, he's 40 years old. Now, I think if Rodgers is healthy for this whole game, which, knock on wood, that he is, and I just did a rankings having the Jets at 1, so yeah, there's a reason for that. And if Rodgers is healthy the whole year, I think the Jets are going to do well. And if Rodgers is healthy, this game I think is going to be a good game, because you got two solid defenses and you got stars all over the place. I mean, I think the 49ers stars are bigger than the Jets stars, but still, I mean, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, they are up-and-coming stars in the NFL. And on the 49ers side, you got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, those guys with Brock Purdy. Yeah, it's it could be a fun game. And like I said, with the Jets, there's a lot of ifs. And like I said, I'm taking a risk with that. You know, I don't want to, just do a chalk rankings and just be like, yeah, here, the Bills, Dolphins, Jets third, Patriots fourth. Like, I was taking a risk here. And I've been consistent with saying, hey, I'm going to be in the minority with the Jets. Now, do I think maybe putting them as number 1 in the East maybe is a little too much? Yeah, it might be. But for me, I just feel like their roster is solid top to bottom. And if they get good quarterback play, they should be a good team. And this is a true test for them right out of the gate against the Niners, who are the class of the NFC. And that's what they have been. I mean, they get to the championship game pretty much every year. But, they fall short. Lost to the Rams, lost to the Eagles. And then when they get to the Super Bowl, when they have recently, they have lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, and yeah, I mean, this is a test for the 49ers offense going up against this defense, because this Jets defense is really good. And you get to see, Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy taking on another first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. So that's a nice little storyline there. But yeah, this is an enticing matchup, and this is take 2 now with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Can he go out there and play the whole game, and then you go from there? And I think he will. Now, you got an offensive line that they revamped in the offseason. They drafted an offensive lineman as well with their first pick, which was a smart move. But, they also brought in Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, John Simpson. They made it a priority to make sure that Aaron Rodgers is protected. Now, we'll see how that protection holds throughout the season, but it should be better. And like I said, this is going to be a test for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, because, this is a defensive line that's, like I said, one of the best in football. And you're going to have Nick Bosa coming after you. Like I said, Leonard Floyd is now a part of this team. You're going to have to deal with him as well. It's, definitely something right out of the gate for the Jets to kind of see how they match up against, one of the best teams. Now, I think if you're a Jet fan, like I said, maybe you'd want to have them open up against a lesser opponent to start the year before they throw you right in. But the NFL threw the Jets right in and said, yep, this is what you're going to get. Jets against the 49ers. So, it's take 2. It's take 2. And looking forward to this game, but a little nervous just because of the defensive line that Rodgers will be going up against, and what he's coming off of. And it's been nothing but positive on that front with him rehabbing and coming back from the injury. But now we got to see how he is once he gets into a game. And I'm curious to see how the Jets deal with him in the preseason, if he's even going to play in the preseason. I'm going to say he at least plays a drive in the preseason. I think he's going to want to at least play a little bit. Not too long, but like I said, maybe a drive or two. Because that's kind of like what he did against the Giants. But that's just me. Maybe the Jets don't want to do that. I think he'd probably want to, just to at least go out there and just at least get some reps in before you actually play in a game. But that's not for a while. And this game is not for a while. So we still got ways to go. But like I said, the schedule comes out tonight. So we'll find out the rest of the schedules for everybody. With the Jets, we'll find out who they're playing after the 49ers. I know, well, they are playing the Vikings, like I said. That's one of the international games. So I forget which Instagram page I saw that had all the international games listed. Oh, so here, so it is the NFL Instagram page, of course. I don't know why I thought it was like CBS. But yeah, so you got the Packers and the Eagles, week 1. That's going to be in Brazil. That's September 6th. The Jets and the Vikings will be playing in London. That's on October 6th. And the following week, the Jaguars and the Bears. And then the following week is the Patriots and the Jaguars. Oh, man. Mac Jones' revenge game, even though he's not going to be playing. But, yeah, so those are the 3 games in London. Then in Germany, this is on November 10th. You got the Giants and the Panthers. So that's going to be a Panthers home game. So, yeah, those are all the international games right there. Yeah, so the Jets, they will be in London for the first London game of the season. So, yeah, we at least, again, we know what the opponents are. We just don't know when, they're going to play. Like, what networks are going to get some of these games. So, but, yeah, this is a big year for the Jets, and this isn't the last Jets topic we're doing on the show today. We're going to talk about Nathaniel Hackett in the final part of the show, and that's the one of the other things that you could look at with the Jets and say, and not be that confident in. Because, if you wanted me to rank the coaches, Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins is going to be 1 for me. But I'm looking at other areas besides coaching. Now, Robert Saleh, I think a lot of us, when it comes to Robert Saleh, there's a lot more to be desired when it comes to Saleh, to put it nicely. And that could be something that holds the Jets back. And I don't want to get into that too much because, I want to focus on that in the final part of the show. But, yeah, I that's the other thing, too, is coaching. Because, like I said, Mike McDaniel might be the best coach is the best coach in the division, in my opinion. But I have his team ranked 3rd. So, yeah, Robert Saleh, he could coach defense. It's just the offense is the problem. It has been the problem. So, we'll see what happens. But this is kind of his last shot, I think. And if the Jets don't get it done this year, well, then there's going to be changes. So, but I'm hoping, with this game and beyond that, the Jets go out and have a solid year, make the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. You know, they did a lot to try to get Rodgers, and, you know, now it's, you know, let's see what they could do. Let's see what they could do now if he's healthy. And I hope he is healthy, because I want to see how he plays. But, you know, coming off of a significant injury, and he's 40 years old, yeah, the odds are stacked against him. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think about this game, the first Monday night game of the year between the Jets and the 49ers. Like I said, could be a solid game. But, you know, and there's some storylines going into it. And Rodgers, of course, has had many battles with the 49ers over the years, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. Playoff success hasn't been great. But I know the last regular season game he played against them, I did bring this up, when he hit Devontae Adams a couple of times. They got into field goal range, and Mason Crosby hit a game-winning field goal. That was on a Sunday night back in 2021, and that was a great game. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, again, let me know what you guys think about this matchup in Week 1. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we're going to take a break from the Jets. We're going to talk about Kirk Cousins, some comments he made regarding if he would have known what the Falcons' plan was prior to signing with them, would he have signed with them? So we will get into that and what he had to say when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about Kirk Cousins, some more comments he made regarding, the Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. with their first pick in the draft. And he was asked if he would have signed with them had he had known that the Falcons were going to take a quarterback. So I wanted to get into what he said specifically. And this is what he had to say. So he said, I don't really deal in hypotheticals. We could go down that path for a long time in a lot of ways, and it just doesn't do us any good. I'm excited for this opportunity. I think it's a real privilege to be a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm trying to make good on the opportunity that they've given me with the way I work every day. Talking about Michael Penix Jr. now, he said, Mike's been great. Last week, Michael Penix Jr. said he was blessed to learn from Kirk Cousins, and Cousins said, like I just said, Mike's been great. There's always going to be competition in this league, and you've always got to go out and earn it. I'm going to control what I can control and also understand there's a lot that you don't control. I learned a long time ago that you've got to focus on what you can control. And then talking about his rehab, he said it's coming along really well. Today I felt the best I've felt. Falcons training staff is doing a great job with me on a daily basis on the rehab, and I think everything is trending in the right direction. I wasn't sure when I stood here in March and I had just gotten here, how much I'd be able to do at practice, but today I felt I was able to do everything I would have normally done. That's big for that stuff I talked about initially, building continuity, getting shared history together, so that's a huge help, and I'm excited to see how fast we can heal from here. So, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything else that he had to say. I think that's it. And then, yeah, so then the last thing he says here, the league is still working their way through it. Oh, this is about the tampering stuff. The league is still working their way through it, so I'll let that play its course before I say anything out of turn. If I said anything at that press conference, it was because it was so innocent. Okay. So, but I wanted to focus more. I know the tampering stuff that's still going on, the investigation between with them and the Eagles. But, when the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley. But, yeah, so said the first thing I want to touch upon is he doesn't want to deal with hypotheticals. And I think if he did know what the Falcons were going to do prior to signing with them, I think he probably would have taken his business elsewhere. Because when you hear that the reason for him leaving Minnesota was because they were drafting a quarterback, well, then why would you go sign with another team if they're going to draft a quarterback? So he probably would have went somewhere else. And who knows? Could have went to the Raiders are a team that needed a quarterback. I don't know if they would have I don't know if they would have gave him $100 million guaranteed. But there were other teams that definitely needed quarterbacks. Raiders were one, the Broncos. The Commanders also, even though they had the number 2 overall pick and they were going to take Jaden Daniels. But I think I saw something was floated around that, maybe he'll go back to Washington. But yeah, he signed with the Falcons, and pretty sure he talked about how transparent the organization was. He said something about the organization being honest, and then all of a sudden, the night of the draft, they called him up and said, "Hey, we're going to take a quarterback with this pick," and he said, "Okay." So, I think internally it did rub him the wrong way, but you're never going to hear him say that publicly. But you take that situation and you turn it into something positive. And it seems like you got a good relationship going between him and Michael Penix Jr. And Penix is going to absorb all the knowledge that he can get from Kirk Cousins, who's been in the league since 2012. And it's crazy to think about that. Because Washington, they drafted RG3 and they drafted Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins ended up having to play because, Robert Griffin III ended up getting hurt. But yeah, Kirk Cousins has been around for a while. And I think, I know I've talked about this with the Falcons, but I would have liked the pick if it was later in the draft. I think it's because, and this is why it just sent shockwaves through the NFL community and social media and people just reacting to it the way they did. It's just, you went and drafted a player that is not going to help your team for the foreseeable future. Now, in the future, yes, because ideally they're trying to have Kirk Cousins play out his contract and then they just go over to Michael Penix. That's what they want. Now, I don't know how clean that transition is going to be, but that's how they want this all to play out. But the Falcons have a chance to, on paper they're a good team. And they finished 7-10 last year. And with better quarterback play, they probably win the division. And you bring in Kirk Cousins, you give him that contract 4-year contract. He's also coming off of a significant injury. And, I just feel like, you could have added a player that can help your team right now. And they opted not to do that. Now, Michael Penix Jr. probably, the way things were changing and he was trending up, I mean, all these quarterbacks that were talked about for months, they all got taken in the first round. Because, Bo Nix, people were looking at him as not being a first-round pick, and Michael Penix Jr., same thing. But they all ended up getting taken in the first round. So the Falcons were like, all right, we're going to get our guy right now. So, again, I understand the pick, and I think if he was taken later in the draft, I think you would have gotten less of a reaction. But because they took him where they took him, that's, Falcons fans were not happy. But even with this pick, I still look at the Falcons as the favorites in the division. And the NFC South is not, I think it's going to be competitive, but it's not a tough division. Because I think 3 of the 4 teams are kind of all on the same level, around the same level. Now, when I did my rankings, I did have the Falcons 1. I had the Buccaneers 2 and the Saints 3. The Panthers are still 4. And the Panthers are going to be better. But it's going to be close. It's that division race is going to be close. And we'll see how Kirk Cousins plays now. Like I said, coming off of that, his own Achilles injury. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, in a change of scenery, with these weapons. And I know I did a segment on the Falcons earlier in the week. And how they're optimistic about Kyle Pitts finally being unlocked. Rookie season had over 1,000 yards. And let's see if he can get back to that now with, you're hoping, stability at the quarterback position. So, we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, it is interesting, like he said. He doesn't want to deal with hypotheticals. He's not going to say it publicly. I think his answer would be, yeah, I probably wouldn't have signed with them because I want to be the guy. And he is still going to be the guy. It's just, now you have that successor over your shoulder. So, and, if he slips up, doesn't play well, he starts to show that, he's declining, well, Michael Penix Jr. is going to get a shot. And could happen this year. Kirk Cousins goes out there and he doesn't play well. Michael Penix Jr. might get a shot right away. Now, I said I think Kirk Cousins will go out there and have a good year. But, again, that's just my opinion. So, we'll have to see what happens when we get to the regular season next year. But, yeah, it's interesting comments by Kirk Cousins. But I think internally we know what he's thinking. But like I said on previous shows, you got that group of people that'll say, well, he got paid all that money. So, whatever happens, he's still getting paid. And that is absolutely true. But, I mean, you thought you were the guy, and then they end up drafting your successor. So, but let me know what you guys think about Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. What are your thoughts on his comments that he made? And how do you see the Falcons performing in 2024? So, with that being said now, we are going to take our third break of the show. And then when we come back, we will talk about some quarterback drama back in 2021 with the Bears. An interesting article that I saw that I wanted to talk about regarding the quarterback room for the Bears from a few years ago. So that is what we will get into when we come back from our third break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about an article that I saw regarding the Bears quarterback room back in 2021. And according to some reports, the QB room was toxic as hell. And this quarterback room consisted of rookie Justin Fields, Nick Foles, and Andy Dalton. So here are some comments. This is now, according to NFL writer Ty Dunn, and this is what he had to say. There were several arguments amongst the quarterbacks. Once, per one source, Nick Foles was trying to teach something to Fields in the quarterback room, and upon turning towards the rookie, Foles realized Fields wasn't even paying attention. His head was down. At that point, Foles was done trying to play mentor. The two could not stand each other. It got bad enough, a source told Dunn, that the trio ultimately never were together. It was always Andy and Nick, meaning Andy Dalton, walking side by side, and Justin always 15 yards behind them. So that's interesting. And then, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to touch upon. But yeah, so Tyler Dunn also did tweet. He said the Justin Fields era failed for many reasons in Chicago. Lame duck regime drafted him. Toxic as hell quarterback room, leadership quirks, but number one, processing. One coach said he'd be a great single wing quarterback if that was still around. And he also tweeted something that another Bears coach said. He said, watch his eyes. He tries to see the whole thing and doesn't see anything. His eyes are all over the place. And it's just really hard to watch. It's just bad football. So, yeah, that's so interesting stuff there with this article, that with the drama with the quarterback room. And now here's the thing. That was back in 2021. That was a few years ago. And I think, Justin Fields, that was a learning experience, I feel like. Now, we'll see how things are in Pittsburgh, because he's not going to be the starter. It's going to be Russell Wilson. And we'll see how that relationship kind of unfolds. But, yeah, I mean, definitely interesting stuff there regarding the quarterback room back in 2021. But I feel like a lot of times you look at some of these young players that come into the league, and they need to be humbled a little bit. And Justin Fields, I guess, falls into that category. And I think when you're a young player that gets into the NFL, you want to absorb as much knowledge as you can from veteran guys to make you a better player. And I guess he just really wasn't interested in that. Now, I don't know how true this stuff is, but, if it is true, if there's some truth to it, again, that, like I said, it should be a learning experience for Fields to say, listen, if someone's trying to, give you advice, try to take it. And, Nick Foles and Andy Dalton, it's not like, they're Hall of Famers, but they're veteran guys, and Nick Foles did go on a miraculous Super Bowl run. Let's not forget about that. That did happen as a backup because he was Carson Wentz's backup. But he has started a lot of games. And, yeah, did go on that Super Bowl run, helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. So, I don't know. Maybe you should pay attention to what he has to say. And Andy Dalton still doesn't have a playoff victory. But, he's been a veteran. He's a veteran guy. He's been around the league for a while. Still in the league. Backing up now Bryce Young. So, you want to absorb that knowledge. And I guess Fields just was not interested in that at the time. But again, this is a few years ago. If this is true, that he was not paying attention, and this created this drama, then yeah, it's not a good look for Fields. But he could take that and learn from it. And like I said, young players, some of them come into the league, they got to be humbled. So I think, now going to Pittsburgh, new situation, but now you're sitting behind another quarterback. Try not to repeat the same thing that you did supposedly with the Bears. If Russell Wilson maybe does give you advice, tries to help you out, then maybe you take that. Now, I don't know if Russell Wilson, I don't think is really going to be a mentor to Fields. I think, he's going to go out and do his thing because he's trying to, revitalize his career because those 2 years in Denver weren't the best. And he wants to get back to playing like the Russell Wilson that we saw in Seattle. But I think they're going to have some kind of relationship. And, we'll see how that plays out. But definitely some interesting things that come out of Chicago. And then also just, the comments that were made as well, the tweet about, him, scanning his progressions and, just not really. Well, I mean, he said it. He sees everything, but he doesn't. How did he word it? Let me go back. I gotta go back to the tweet now. Just how he, like I said, scans the progressions. Well, I think also it also has a lot to do with the Bears not being able to develop a quarterback. I mean, they also had Mitchell Trubisky, and that didn't pan out either. So I don't think it's really just Fields. There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, so like I said, this is the tweet. Watch his eyes. He tries to see the whole thing and doesn't see anything. His eyes are all over the place, and it's just really hard to watch. Yeah, he holds the ball too long. But I think a lot of that, and if you go back to earlier in the season, when I think it was after the Chiefs loss, he was talking about how he's playing like a robot. I think that was after the Chiefs loss. Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to blame the Bears for not being able to develop him properly. You also that also plays a role in it too. And they finally started to surround him with talent, and then they went out and, with the draft and free agency, they added more to it, but they had the number 1 overall pick, and they said, well, we're drafting Caleb Williams, and we're going to trade Fields, and that's what they did. Now he's with the Steelers. And we'll see how he is with them. But, yeah, it's, they finally started surrounding him with the right pieces, but they are given the keys to a different quarterback. Now, the Steelers, I think, also could be a good spot for him. Again, I like the Bears supporting cast right now for Caleb Williams as opposed to the supporting cast with Pittsburgh. But, the Steelers got some good players as well. 2 good running backs. George Pickens, you want to see how he is with consistent quarterback play. Pat Freiermuth's a good tight end. And they revamped the offensive line. And they're backed by a good defense. So that's a good spot for Fields. But I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. So We will see. And actually, I think the Steelers are opening up against the Falcons to start the year. So you got Arthur Smith going up against his former team. Now he's the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh. So that should be interesting. But yeah, just something I wanted to touch upon regarding the quarterback drama that was supposedly in Chicago back during Fields' rookie year. But yeah, again, I mean, he's just a rookie, and that was from a few years ago. So we'll see, how he is now in this new situation with Pittsburgh. But let me know what you guys think about that story, because I thought it was a little interesting, so I wanted to touch upon it. So we're going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the Jets again regarding their offensive leadership, and mainly has to do with Nathaniel Hackett. So we will get into that, and that is how we will end off the show for today. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about the Jets again. And this is regarding Nathaniel Hackett. So, supposedly, they considered hiring someone above offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett to run the offense because of the concerns about his ability to lead this offense effectively. And the move was seen as an attempt to address issues without completely replacing Hackett, indicating internal doubts about his capability to manage the offense successfully. Now, there's other reports that suggest there were instances where Hackett called plays only for Aaron Rodgers to change them completely at the line of scrimmage, leading to questions about Hackett's decision-making. And Robert Saleh explored adding to the offensive staff and creating a more collaborative play-calling process to reduce Hackett's role, signaling a lack of confidence in his ability to handle the offense independently. And the team last year, when Rodgers went down, they were ranking 31st. They ended up ranking 31st in yards per game and 29th in scoring. And, yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle just it was not good. It was not good. But, yeah, I mean, this kind of just goes to show you, like, what Nathaniel Hackett brings to the table or what he doesn't bring to the table, because the Jets don't have confidence in him. And the main reason why they brought him there was because they truly believed, and it ended up happening, that they were getting Aaron Rodgers. And that's what happened. Because they wanted to make Rodgers happy. And at the time, yeah, you could look at them and say, yeah, they were kind of desperate. And how could they not be? Because Zach Wilson clearly was not the answer. And it seemed like Aaron Rodgers was done with the Packers. And they said, you know what? Let's try to get this Hall of Fame quarterback in our building and be our guy for the next few seasons. So they did that. You know, that's why they got Hackett. That's why they went out and they got Allen Lazard and they got Randall Cobb. They did that because they wanted Rodgers to be happy. And last year, yeah, 4 plays into the year and it was over. And there were I remember I think I did a topic on this that, or at least I've said it, but yeah, when Rodgers got hurt, the Jets just had no plan. They just really did not know what to do when he got hurt. And now, like I just read to you guys, that they're trying to reduce Nathaniel Hackett's role. They just really don't think he brings that much to the table. And you go back to when he was the head coach of Denver, he didn't even make it through the whole year. The team was not good. And then you got Sean Payton coming out and saying that was one of the worst coaching jobs ever. I mean, it's just Nathaniel Hackett was brought in to be Rodgers, to be with Rodgers. That's what it comes down to. And he was with them in the Packers, and Rodgers speaks very highly of him. And then also, like, when you hear that supposedly, Hackett will call a play and Rodgers will change it at the line of scrimmage, that's makes it even worse. And that's been the Jets' problem. Because they also had, even before Hackett, they had Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, and he just wasn't good either. But you figured, okay, they get Rodgers, they're okay. And that's what they're hoping for this year. Rodgers staying healthy, he's going to be the guy that runs the offense. And that will allow Robert Saleh to focus more on the defense because that's his strength. And you go from there. But definitely is interesting that they're trying to get rid of him, Hackett, without getting rid of him. This is what this is. And, because they want to keep Rodgers happy. They don't want to just get rid of him because they don't want to upset him and then, something happens, which I don't know. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting, this approach that they're taking, where they want to make it more of a collaborative effort, like I said, but they want to reduce his role. Yeah, there's just a lot going on. Jets making a lot of headlines. Aaron Rodgers making more headlines recently, appearing on different shows and things like that. But, yeah, we'll see how it all goes when they play their first game against the Niners. But, yeah, I did the rankings of the teams at the top of the show. Now, again, do I feel do I have full confidence that these rankings are going to be correct? No, I don't. I definitely have some doubts, but it's my opinion. So, and this is if everything goes well for the Jets, which I don't think everything is going to go well. There's going to be issues. There's going to be injuries. And, during the year, you're going to have fans complaining about some decisions made by the coaching. So, yeah, there could be some problems. But, like I said, it's a risk I'm going to take. So, but, yeah, this whole season really depends on the health of Aaron Rodgers. That's really what it comes down to. And if he ends up getting hurt again, well, that's going to be a problem. Now, they do have Tyrod Taylor backing him up, who is a capable backup. They got a completely different quarterback room now. And Tyrod Taylor did win a couple of games for the Giants last year, and I thought at times did play well. So, and you got Zach Wilson out of the building, so you don't have that distraction. So even if Rodgers does get hurt, Tyrod Taylor, I think, can operate the offense. Now, I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor is going to go out there and be amazing, but Tyrod Taylor will at least give you a shot, and he'll be able to move the ball a little bit. But he also has injury concerns with himself. He's gotten hurt a lot. So, again, we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, definitely interesting that they're trying to reduce Nathaniel Hackett and not really make him, the main head behind the offense. Like I said, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers that's calling the shots on the offense. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it with the Jets talk. I know I spent a few segments on them, talking about, who they're playing week 1, and then, of course, the Hackett stuff, as well as doing the AFC East rankings. And, yeah, and it's a team I've talked about a decent amount on the show in recent weeks. But, yeah, don't worry, though, because tomorrow we are going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about some of the big games from the schedule. We'll get into that. I actually will have Manny and Emran joining me once again tomorrow for the first 2 segments, so make sure to tune in, get their takes on what we have planned for tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the schedule. Like I said, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, NFL Network. Make sure to tune in for that. But they've been sprinkling things throughout the last couple of days. Actually, the Bills and the Dolphins will be playing each other in week 2. That'll be the first Amazon Prime game. So, but yeah, it's a fun time. Really looking forward to the schedule. Seeing when my team's playing. Hopefully, there's not too many primetime games, which I don't think there will be because, they weren't very good last year. As for the Jets, they are going to get primetime games with, a healthy Aaron Rodgers. So, but yeah, schedule comes out. Make sure to tune in tonight. See when your teams are playing. It's exciting. It's another step closer to the NFL season. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, I know I don't know if Dan's still in here, but appreciate the comment. Like I said, I'm taking a risk. I'm not going to argue with his comments saying I disrespected the Dolphins because you know what? But that just shows you how competitive this division can be. Because one of these teams has to be third. Again, I'm kind of discounting the Patriots, but still. The Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets are going to be battling it out for this division. And I have to rank one of those teams third, and I put the Dolphins. So, and you know what? The Jets, yeah, might have ranked them too high because they got concerns of their own, but that's what I did. So, but yeah, appreciate the comment. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I always say, make sure to tune into the other shows on the GSMC Sports Network. A lot of content coming out each day, Monday through Friday. Actually, speaking of Friday, there will be no show Friday. I know I mentioned that previously, but yeah, there will be no show Friday. So tomorrow's Thursday, basically our Friday, my Friday for this week. So, but don't worry, and actually no show Monday either. So kind of a shortened week this week and next week, a little bit, but yeah. So just wanted to bring that to light. But yeah, make sure to check out the other shows. Like I said, a lot of content coming out each day. And also, like I said, Manny and Emran will be joining me again tomorrow for the first 2 segments, so make sure to tune in for that. Manny, of course, the host of the Chip Shot Football Podcast, and Emran, the host of the Soccer Podcast. So, yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.